A double, back-to-back episodes. Got him in here. I want to get right into this. First of all, hello. I should have started with that. Jesus
it's okay.
Christ. I'm out of control, man.
It's all right, man. We're recording. Seen you 2 days ago.
Yeah.
Very, very pleasant surprise on the pitch.
We got some. We're playing soccer on Mondays, and dude, I gotta say, bro, like I feel like I'm in pretty good shape, like cardio-wise with jiu-jitsu and the wrestling, and I try to run like 10 miles a week.
Mm-hmm.
Bro, every cardio to every sport is so fucking different.
Yeah, nothing compares to soccer.
Bro, soccer, it's like nonstop sprints.
Yeah.
Like throughout, you know, and we play 6-on-6. It's co-ed.
Mm-hmm.
Gotta have 2 girls on the field at all times. We probably have the best girls in the league. It's the guys that let us down. It's the guys that let us down.
Wait, isn't it 7-on-7 or am I blanking?
7-on-7 with the goal.
Oh yeah,
6 on the field.
Right, gotcha.
And dude, you're just like, and it's hot and it's humid and you're running around and. It's like, damn, bro, just constant sprints.
It's like you clear the ball out, you did your defensive work. It's like, oh, great, we got to get on the counter. Then you lose possession. Oh, I got to get in position. It's it's always a responsibility.
You're like, fuck, man.
Yeah. That's why those throw-ins and set pieces, take them.
Yeah, man. Yeah, for sure. But, yo, I got you on because it's a division. We're doing the division preview throughout the summer. I did the AFC West last week. If you guys haven't checked that out, that's with Kenny King. We had some issues on the Zoom. That's why there was no video for that. But for this one, the NFC South, I like asking the people that I have on for these, just overall, not a storyline, because that's one of the 4 topics that we cover. How do you feel about this division as a whole?
As of right now, I think it's up there with the NFC North as the most one-side division. There's in a notorious division where there used to be a lot of parity. There was once upon a time where a team couldn't win the division 2 times in a row until the Panthers did it between 2013 and 15. That was like the prime Ron Rivera, Cam Newton days.
But from when it first formed until then, there was never a repeat
champion. No, even when a team won a Super Bowl like the Bucs or a team went to the Super Bowl, well, Falcons were later on. But like, or for instance, the Saints in 2009 won the Super Bowl. Then the next year, they didn't win the division. Like, it was just always so unpredictable. But now, even though last year was their first year winning division quite some time. Because remember, the Bucs Super Bowl year, they were the 5th seed.
Right. They were the wild card because they lost twice to the Saints, and they beat them in the playoff game.
And the Saints beat them twice again last year, which crazy how Dennis Allen has Tom Brady's number like that. But I think you just look at the rosters. It's Tampa Bay, and then New Orleans is creeping around, and Atlanta and Carolina are in rebuilding, soul-searching mode.
Yeah, so the Bucs... the Bucs entering last year were minus 200 to win the division, I should say. There was only one team that had bigger odds for them to win the division, and it was the Buffalo Bills at the time going into the season. Now they are minus 300, so just a little bit more of a favorite.
I'm shocked that's not higher.
Yeah, I'm blown away. Like, I hate using the L word in sports and sports betting like a lock, but I'll be shocked if they don't win the South Division.
It would be catastrophic. There would be like 5 major injuries.
You need to have a Baltimore Ravens of last year's season where you miss like 22 starters go down.
And Jameis has to play like an MVP level somehow.
It needs to be something ridiculous for them not to win this division. But I kind of feel the same way, man. I think it's one team's to lose. And what's fascinating, because it's the NFC, I feel as if the Saints could be a playoff team if Jameis comes back as a wild card. The other 2 teams, I just think, let's worry about next season.
Or in 2 seasons.
2 seasons from now.
Because you look at the division, like Saints are now recovering from losing Drew Brees and Sean Payton, Falcons, Julio Jones, Matt Ryan. Like, the faces of the division has completely changed. And I just think Carolina's front office has completely botched it the past few years, both from a personnel and coaching standpoint, because I don't think there's a coach with odds for first fire coach than Matt Rule.
He's a favorite by he's a 3-1 favorite.
And I don't know who else would be up there. So it's just the teams in this division have taken some severe hits, while Tampa Bay, at first we thought maybe was going to take a major hit, just reloaded, and then I thought was one of the biggest winners in the offseason, not just because they got Brady back, but they made some pretty savvy moves.
Well, I want to open up with addition, and I don't know if this is going to be a weird one for you, but this is a guy that you know pretty well. I love Russell Gage going to the Bucs. He's a slot receiver. We know about Brady's rapport with the slot receiver. He's very reliable. I think he was like top 5 in the NFL in third down conversions last year that set up first downs.
Yeah.
I want to get your thoughts on him just as a player, but let me finish this real quick. And Godwin tore his ACL last year, so he's gonna miss the first. I would say he'll probably be a pup guy to start the season. Almost certain he will be. And you have Mike Evans there. You're not gonna have Gronk, who retired. We'll get to him in just a sec. But I think Russell Gage coming in as your slot receiver, all reliable kind of. And
he can play on the outside a little bit too, but he's, I think, most effective in the slot because he's really good after a catch. Like, he could turn those 6-yard hitches into 12-yard gains. Like, he's very good with the ball in his hands.
So you add him as a safety blanket for Brady, and I think for me that's the biggest addition in the NFC South this season.
It's a big addition, but it's not my pick.
Okay, what is yours?
To me, it has to be the homecoming, Tyrann Mathieu.
Oh, shit, I forgot about Honey Badger. That's right.
I think even though he's come off a bit of a down year by his high standards, it's a huge move, and I think the Saints are always a team that usually makes 1 or 2 splashes per offseason. After losing Marcus Williams, there was concern like, how are they going to reload? Because Marcus Williams was one of the true cornerstones of that defense. And now you get Honey Badger, big reunion. Some people are writing him off saying he made too many mistakes last year. We know what a motivated Tyrann Mathieu could be like. So he's always motivated. I'm not discounting his motivation, but now you got extra fuel for someone that plays with so much passion. I'm really excited to see what he does. And playing that Dennis Allen defense, which allows safeties to be a little bit more flexible, particularly on blitzes. I think he's, by default, the biggest addition.
Wow, that's a strong-ass pick, too. The LSU connections, the New Orleans connections. I still feel like, he was getting a lot of heat, but a lot of it was also Dan Sorensen. Remember all the videos of Tyrann Mathieu, like, yo, what is going on? This dude's running wild. Dawson Knox famously was like 40 yards open down the field, and Tyrann throws his hands up. But I think what's interesting about him is he's a guy, like you said, when he's motivated, he's one of the best players. And he's just always by the ball. Like, I love looking at that. When I'm looking at a safety or a linebacker in particular, more so like a middle linebacker, like, how close are you to the ball? Are you getting spoofed on play actions or jet sweeps and all that shit? Like, you're a guy that's always around the ball. You're always making plays. Yeah. And the ball just somehow ends up in his hands a lot more than it doesn't.
And the Saints are always one of those teams that force turnovers. Their defenses aren't the most reliable, but they are, like, their D-backs just know how to punch the ball out, get the pick quarterbacks off. Like, it's just an ultra-aggressive defense. And I think his fit with Dennis Allen, it could be a big one, even though the Saints, we know their overall upside's a bit limited.
Give me some thoughts on Russell Gage just as a player before we really move on.
I think it's a great addition just based on the fact that he is someone you go put in the slot, but then also put on the outside because he plays bigger than his size. I believe he's only 6'1", but I've seen him make contested catches before. Like, he can go up and get it. Like, he's not the quickest receiver. He's not like the big vertical threat, but that's what Mike Evans is for. For me, Russell Gage is someone the short, intermediate. He's going to eat. And I think it's kind of cool that Brady, ironically, was the one that recruited him because Gage went off on Tampa Bay multiple times over the past 2 years. So I think that caught Brady's eye, and it worked out that way. Like, Brady personally called them. So the rapport looks like it's going to be there, and Russell Gage is one of those guys. He's like one of those glue players that you could always count on. And I just think the culture fit is perfect in Tampa Bay.
When it comes to subtraction, do we have the same one?
Got to be Matt Ryan.
It's your boy, right?
It has to be. Like, whoa.
Yeah, I put Matt Ryan in my notes, but I said Allen definitely has him.
I mean, it has to be.
Yeah, I picked someone else though, just for the topic of conversation. But tell me about Matt Ryan.
Quarterback since 2008, greatest player in franchise history, probably. Just ultra dependable. Just someone that, regardless of how bad the roster is, he was someone that for the most part would deliver. Like, Matt Ryan pretty much carried them to 7 games. Like, you look at their roster last year, it was Matt Ryan, Kyle Pitts, Gray Jarrett, AJ Terrell, Chris Lindstrom, damn good right guard. But besides that roster was bare. And Matt Ryan, there was a couple games where he literally couldn't have played better. Like, I remember, never forget the game against New Orleans that actually gave me some. Sorry, Cordell Patterson. Cannot forget Cordell Patterson. Shame on me. Cannot forget Cordell. But Matt Ryan, for most, I thought had his best year since probably 2018. And I think for the Falcons, for him to be gone and then them replacing Mariota. It's just there's no replacing Matt Ryan like that. So
especially I think the stability, right? And he was a hell of a player too. And now you just leave the door open for so much uncertainty at a position where he provided so much certainty.
Right.
Like you know how I feel about what a franchise quarterback is. Matt Ryan checks all the boxes
on such a flawed roster too.
Yeah, but I'm talking about, for me, what I define as a franchise quarterback, especially when I take him in the first round. He's a top 5 pick. I want for the next decade plus, for as long as he's there, I'm not spending a first or second day pick on that position.
Mm-hmm.
Let me take someone in the 5th, 6th round and just have depth. I get it. But to me, yeah, he didn't win a Super Bowl. No shit. A lot of people don't win Super Bowls.
Yeah.
Right? But he had an MVP season. He was considered one of the most reliable guys. He put up good numbers. The team was competitive with the exception of like 3-4 seasons during his tenure?
The past few years.
Yeah, well, towards the tail end, but I'm talking about like, the Mike Smith heyday too, conference championship games.
Yeah.
They would have bye weeks. Like to me, he was the epitome of a franchise quarterback. And now you got Mariota coming in who, he's a gatekeeper, right? If that. He's a bridge guy, which you don't even have one now. You got to see what happens with Desmond Ridder. Yeah. And we see, right? But to me, like, Matt Ryan is definitely the biggest subtraction. I picked Gronk. Because, dude, there were some games last year where, like, Gronk would come out to play. And it would be like, oh, shit, Gronk is still the best tight end of the league.
Just down the seam, bang.
Yeah, and just, like, so the numbers with Brady having him in and out of the lineup are, like, drastic, right? It's very, like, it's still Brady's still amazing. Let's not get it twisted. But it's like, oh, shit. Gronk is such a reliable piece for him inside the red zone. You go to the time that they were together with Tampa Bay, they had the big – anytime it was a big game feel, Gronk always showed up, and you knew Brady was going to go to him, whether it was a playoff game, whether it was a Super Bowl, he scores 2 touchdowns. Like, it's his guy. It's his main guy. And him not being there, I think it leaves a big hole in something where it's just like, all right, Gronk is there. You know what I mean? Like that sigh of relief for Brady, I think is massive.
Yeah, no, he's just one of the most dependable tight ends ever, and like particularly in the red zone, like he is uncoverable. You have him and Mike Evans in the red zone, and you pick your poison.
Put you on the spot. Best tight end of all time?
Yes.
Yeah, right? Yeah, I got it.
I just think he's just dominance-wise. Like he might not have the longevity of, say, Tony Gonzalez, but I think Gronk put more fear into defenses, and you really had a game plan for him. And even when you did game plan for him, he probably would still put up 100.
Man, he was such a
hell of a blocker too. Let's give him. He made a difference in that run game.
Yeah, man. Fuck, I remember some of those videos were just bulldozing like Colt DBs and
we even talk about after the catch too, like Gronk after the catch.
Bro. And what about all the years where he would miss time because people would like start diving at his knees and blow out knees and backs?
That was the worst, but like what?
But still would be a problem even coming back after all these injuries.
Yeah, he's had. I lost count how many surgeries he's had.
He's had so many, bro.
Hence why he's retired before. Now he's retired again.
Yeah. All right, let's move over to X Factor.
I think this is the most interesting one. I'm going with Chris Olave.
Oh.
Because the Saints trade up fortune for him, and I think he's going to be someone that could be the make or break for the offense because it looks like Alvin Kamara is going to get a 6-game suspension based on what happened in Vegas during the Pro Bowl. And you look at the receivers, we know Michael Thomas is a possession receiver. We know Jarvis Landry is a possession receiver.
He's the guy, though.
And look who the quarterback is. To me, it's going to be a weird adjustment for Jameis Winston when he's asked to throw 8-10-yard slants to Landry and Thomas when in reality he wants to push the ball downfield as much as possible. So that transition is going to be fascinating to watch in New Orleans, especially given the first year without Sean Payton. And it just to me, Olave has to be that. At least that deep threat, someone that defenses have to account for because I think that's how Winston is most comfortable, even though Winston will have to start playing to the strengths of both Thomas and Landry, given that, who they are. Those players are going to command targets. But if the Saints offense is really going to go, like if they're going to win 10 games, Olave has to be a difference maker.
I feel like they haven't had a guy like that since...
Ginn?
I was going to say Ted Ginn, right?
Kenny Stills,
They would have random legends. Like
Devery Henderson.
Henderson was my boy.
Devery Henderson, like guys like Devery Henderson.
Robert Meacham.
Yeah, like to me, that's what makes Drew Brees so special. He made careers there.
Moore. What was the guy's
Lance
name?
Moore. It's another one too.
Moore,
To me, Drew Brees elevated so many receivers in New Orleans and got people paid. So,
bro, Marquise Colston, stud.
Yeah,
stud. Not that kind of mold, but also do what?
I think Colston would have been successful elsewhere.
Yeah, that's true.
But the rest of them, you look at their careers, they didn't really do it.
Bro, I remember there used to be like. Just every week was like 63-yard catch from Robert Meacham for a touchdown. You're like, what happened? And the next week it's Lance Moore,
Devery Henderson.
Yeah, man, for sure. And they haven't had like a guy like that since I would say Ted Ginn. Yeah. And even that Ted Ginn was like, it wasn't Ted Ginn on the Panthers. Remember Ted Ginn on the Panthers that year? Was different. That was like probably the last like, oh shit, Ted Ginn is close to 1,000-yard receiver. Maybe he was a 1,000-yard receiver. I don't recall it exactly, but. Yeah, Olave, I think it's interesting, man. I like that pick for X Factor because he opens up their offense so much more than all the other guys. And then when you factor in what's good with Michael Thomas, what's happening with Alvin Kamara and this pending suspension, and just the style that Jameis Winston has, I think this is something.
Such a weird offense. And no Teron Armstead either. Not having that stalwart left tackle. We'll see how Penning, I think, is their left tackle, who was a very raw first-round pick. So.
Okay, let's talk about my big X Factor. And I'm going to cheat a little bit, if that's cool with you, Alan. I'm going to combine my X Factor and my storyline.
Okay.
It's something that anytime we talk about the Saints, I always ask, what's good with Michael Thomas?
And so I'm surprised no Bucs, since they're the number one team, I guess.
No, because I think that one's like such an obvious call, right? Like the Bucs, and to me, the Bucs, I think, are the favorites to win the NFC, even more so than the Rams. Right. I factor in the idea of being the defending champion. You have the bullseye on your back. Now you're everyone's biggest game. There's always a little bit of a letdown from a team that wins a championship, especially now where the plan was a 2-year plan, right? We're going all in on these 2 years. But then you win it in year one. I don't know. I can't recall this kind of scenario. So to me, I think Tampa Bay, if AB doesn't go ballistic, if the injuries don't go down, if Tristan Wirfs is 100%, we don't know how that playoff game turns out. Exactly. Oh, they had a chance to win despite being down 3 touchdowns at one point. Yeah. So to me, I thought they were the best team in the NFC. Hell, I think the two best teams in the league were Tampa Bay and Buffalo last year, and they didn't even play in the Super Bowl. Yeah. They didn't even get to their conference championship games. So that's why the NFL is so wild and so difficult to win. Anyway, the reason why I say the biggest X factor to me and storyline is Michael Thomas is because I talk about this shit all the time with him. He's had a very, very interesting career. And to me, he is one of the best wide receivers in the league. Granted, I've talked shit about like the slant boy stuff and, he doesn't entirely do it for me, but, he set the single season record for catches. He was a guy who came into the league, Alan, and correct me if I'm wrong, never no issues, never no...
Came from Ohio State.
Came from Ohio State, was a second-round pick, I believe he was. Comes in, year one, 92 catches, 1,100 yards. Year two, 104 catches, 1,200 yards. Year three, 125 catches, 1,400 yards. Year four, 2019, age 26, 149 catches, NFL record, 1,725 yards. Then he gets paid. And then from there, it's like, we haven't seen this dude in a year and a half? A season and a half? Because he plays only 5 games.
2020 is when injury started.
But then it also started like there was the beef with Drew Brees at first, with Drew Brees' comments about, I think it was during the George Floyd day.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and the whole locker room was pissed.
The whole locker room, absolutely. It wasn't just Michael Thomas. You're right. I don't want to just throw it all on Michael Thomas. And rightfully so. It was like a read the room. Read a 3-4 defense. You know what I mean? You couldn't read the room there. But to me, it was just, he's had a weird career because he came in, quiet, all about his business, productive, team first, gets money, gets like a big bag, got like $100 million. I think it was like $60 million guaranteed. And then, the injuries started piling up, but then it was sort of like Kawhi Leonard in the NBA, how like no one knew what was good with him. He wouldn't talk to the medical staff, wouldn't talk to the team, and people were just like, hey, we don't know what's happening with him. It's like, how? He's your best offensive player.
I think he needs to take accountability for it, though. To me, both sides just totally misjudged the injury. The fact that he didn't get that surgery, what was it, June or July, and then it pretty much cost him the year. It just nothing made sense of it. Like, why was the surgery 3 months delayed and then ended up costing the season? So that was a really murky situation. I don't know. It's just you look at stats, like everything correlates to Drew Brees. Because when even I want to say 2020 played like maybe 8 games. Ironically, the 2 games that they get 100-yard games was hilariously enough against the Falcons. And like, Taysom Hill was one. I think the QB won those games, if not both. Like it was just like, really, but
the pain in your face.
I mean, receivers putting up 100-yard games against the Falcons. Been seeing all my life, but I think it's been a long time, and for someone that like set the standard, at least statistically, it was just like, okay, every week you would see him light up the box score. Now it's just like it's really been almost 2 years in a way. Like, we'll give him credit. He had some moments in 2020, but it definitely wasn't what we saw previously from 2016 to 2019. And I don't know, it just like, dude, how our defense is going to cover him now? Like, what's his explosiveness going to be like? Like, we really don't know.
And we don't know what he's like now with Jameis.
Yeah, that's a funky tandem.
The 30-30 guy.
Yeah, like how is Michael Thomas going to be if he only gets 6-7 targets a game when he was accustomed to getting 12 to 14 because Breeze would pepper him? Now there might be games where he only gets 6-7 targets, and with him as receiver, he might struggle to get 50 yards, and that's going to knock him down. So I wonder, like, and then we all know the Sean Payton factor, so there's a lot of mystery there. I'm totally with you on that. Like, can he prove to be a bigger influence than maybe outside box scores? His numbers are going to take a hit. There's no doubt about it in this offense, but can he at least command double teams or open things up for Olave and Landry, etc.? That'll be something to watch.
So my storyline is what's good with Michael Thomas. The reason why he's my X factor is because if he could be just a whole shit, number 13 is there. Mm-hmm. Let's shift over our covers. Let's keep an eye out. Let's
Does he strike fear?
Yeah,
that is to be determined. I don't think so, but
because then what's that going to do for Olave? Mm-hmm. What's that going to do for Kamara out the backfield? What's that going to do for Landry? Also, another guy we got to mention goes back home to LSU, right? Goes back to New Orleans to play with the Saints. So to me, I think Michael Thomas is a massive storyline and X factor. That's why I combined it. I usually don't like doing that, but it's kind of on brand with me to mention this because I've been talking. Anytime we talk about the Saints, it's like, it's good. Like, it wasn't that long ago where he was the top receiver in the league, arguably, or he was in that.
He was in discussion with Adams and Hopkins
and Julio. Remember at the time, Julio was in
2018,
that too.
2019.
Yeah. So to me, it's just weird. He's had a weird career, man. He's had a weird career because you look at the start of it, you're like, holy shit, this guy's gonna shatter so many records.
Yeah. At this point, he just needs to prove he could do it without Breeze and Payton because it does seem heavily influenced by that.
Since target data became available in 1992, Michael Thomas has the best catch percentage in a 1,500-yard season. This guy was like, he
automatic.
185 targets, bro. He had that year. What did Drew Brees throw the ball 500 times? Like, that's insane. Yeah. Like, I got to look that up right now.
I mean, they based offense around him and Kamara. They were like a
Drew Brees 2019. I want to see how many pass attempts Drew Brees had.
I know, but I think by the second half of the season, Brees' arm was starting to fall off a little bit.
Yeah, well, we were always talking about, like, he
that
got
second half decline. Yeah, it started in 2018, then we really saw it in 2019, and then 2020 was all over.
Dude, 185 targets is steep, bro. Especially when Drew Brees.
I
got it right here.
16 a game. Forget 12 to 14. That was like 16 a game.
Yo, did he miss time in 2019?
Thomas?
No.
Oh, Breeze. I think he did because.
Oh, that was Geno Smith.
No, it's Teddy Bridgewater.
Teddy Bridgewater.
Yeah, that's when Breeze hurt his thumb on Aaron Donald's helmet.
Wow.
And Saints went undefeated during their run. Which
the reason why I mentioned that is because Drew Brees in 2019 threw the ball 378 times.
Yeah. See, I think he was out for about 5 games.
Yeah, and they went 5-0. They went undefeated.
Yeah.
I'd have to check what Teddy Bridgewater threw, but still, like 185 targets is.
Yeah.
That's
and
steep, man.
That counterpoint, like, okay, Thomas actually was still productive even without Brees during that time because I still think he put up solid numbers with Bridgewater. Albeit Bridgewater definitely kind of suits his skill set. Because Bridgewater does not push the ball downfield.
Man, what a player! What a weird career, and I think he's massive for their success. If he comes back and he could be anything like he once was, And it's hard, right? Because we haven't seen him in so long. It's hard for you to come back and then be that player still.
Yeah.
Especially you're older. Now you had the injuries in the beginning. You didn't have them.
Because think about this. The last time he played, he didn't have a catch. It was against the Bucs in that divisional round game. They completely shut him out. And that was the end of Drew Brees' career in New Orleans.
Right.
Yeah. Which pretty much ended their Super Bowl
The window.
era. Yeah.
Yo, are they like the biggest what-if team?
Saints, because they've had so many opportunities.
And they've had some, like...
Yeah, we've talked about this. Yeah.
Take the machete to the heart and turn that shit losses.
I think, like, in terms of, like, a era, they would... I don't know about 1 year because we've had a couple 1 years, but I think era-wise, yeah, they would have to be the biggest what-if because you look at, we know about the Rams game, the Vikings game.
Shortly after.
Yeah, the only game where I thought they got really outplayed in was that second Vikings game. But remember, they were like 11-point favorites. That Vikings team was like a pretty weak 6 seed. And I just feel like when you go to New Orleans, when in the playoffs, it's like, all right, the Saints are playing at home, they're going to win this game. As long as the crowd is obviously there. It wasn't there when Tampa beat them.
Right.
Just for like them to lose to Kirk Cousins in the dome, it was like, really? So
Kyle Rudolph.
Yeah, I remember people saying it was a push-off. I'm like, man, well, come on, man. We know those fades are always 50-50.
Can I give you another what-if team? The Steelers. With Bell and AB and Big Ben.
That's another really good one.
And Martavis Bryant.
Yeah.
Because there would always be that stretch with those Pittsburgh teams where Le'Veon Bell would get hurt and miss the playoffs. And then it was AB got hurt in the playoff game, missed the rest of the playoffs. And then the 1 year that they had all three, Blake Bortles hangs 40-something points on them in Pittsburgh. In the cold.
Yeah.
Right? In the cold. AB puts like 8 for 160 and 2 touchdowns on Jalen Ramsey.
And AJ Boye. Yeah. It's like, wow, someone finally got at the Jaguars defense and they still lost.
They still lost, bro. Yeah. Let's end it with your storyline.
Man, this is kind of a lame duck answer, but I just feel like Tampa Bay has to be a storyline. I'm just wondering if Tampa Bay is going to get the 1 seed. Can they be that dominant team that we're all expecting? Because Tampa Bay has yet to get the 1 seed while Brady's been there. I know it didn't affect them last year, and 2020 didn't affect anybody. But I do wonder if they don't get the 1 seed and say have to play a Green Bay or even have to play the Rams. Who knows? I just think for Tampa Bay's sake, it would be nice for them to get the 1 seed. So I'm just wondering how dominant they could be, how they're going to play in the real tests, which is the first place teams, because I don't think they're getting much tests in the NFC South. I know Dennis Allen has Tom Brady's number, but I fully expect Bucs should beat the Saints. So I'm just wondering how dominant they're going to be. And I do think there is not a whole lot of pressure because he has experience. But Todd Bowles, how does he respond? Because I do think Todd Bowles, you look at it, probably most responsible for that playoff loss. For how he ran a blitz there in that scenario, and then had Cooper Kupp match up on Antoine Winfield Jr. Like how can that matchup be at that time? Like, you just make sure they don't get in field goal range. And instead, look what happened. So I do think Todd Bowles is gonna have a bit of a chip on his shoulder. So I think the storyline is how dominant can the Bucs be, and can they really be that 1 seed?
I want to read you their schedule, but I also want to mention that Tampa Bay is one of 2 teams in the NFL, and I want you to guess who you think the other one is, who's favored in 16 of their 17 games. The only game they are not favored in is a pick'em against the Dallas Cowboys in Week 1.
Huh. I mean, that Week 1 game last year was pretty close.
So they're at Dallas, at Saints, home Packers, Chiefs. They're going to get tested out the gates.
Yeah.
All right, you got to go to Green Bay. You got to play the Chiefs. They're playing them at home. Excuse me. They're playing them at home. And then they play the Falcons at home, at Pittsburgh, at Panthers, home Ravens, Rams, home Seahawks, but that game is in Germany.
Oh, yeah.
They're playing in Munich. Bye week at Browns, Saints, at Niners, home Bengals, at Cardinals, home Panthers.
Wow, this is a very tough schedule. All right, maybe not going to be quite as dominant. I didn't know. Wow, they have to play the Chiefs and the Ravens. Oh, man, they got a tough.
And the Bengals.
Yeah, the whole AFC North.
Yeah.
But the fact that they got the Chiefs after that, oh, man. Oof.
It's an interesting schedule, man, the layout of it. But they have stretches where they have 3 straight home games, then 3 straight home games, one of them being in Germany.
Yeah.
And then after the bye week, week 12, it's away, home, away, home, away, home, away, home. the rest of the way. So, the schedule, it's projected wise, like the spreads, they're favored in all but one game, and that game is a pick 'em too.
It also does help they play Green Bay early because I think Green Bay.
You want to play them early as opposed, especially now without like Devontae.
They have to adjust
MVS and all this shit. So, all right, man, this was fun. Thank you for your time as always. Is there anything you need to plug, promote? This is the end of the episode.
I wish I could announce it right now, but I can't. So
okay,
yeah, I'm gonna have to keep quiet.
Always these secrets.
I wish I could.
Nah, I get it, man. I get it. I'm in that boat too. Yeah. But what's your social media?
Alan Stirk, ALLENSTRK.
VeteransMinimum.com is where you can find everything for this show. Go and check out the shop on there. We have the summer hat line, I guess we could call it. Okay. We got some hats on there for sale. If you guys want to support the show, there's the Patreon, the YouTube, everything you can find on there. VeteransMinimum.com. You can find me at NickDayis10 on social media, and we will catch you guys next time.